Hey, it's Ed here. Today I want to paint a very clear picture that about what is going on with homelessness and combining that with addiction and mental illness, so you get a complete picture of what is going on in the streets and why it appears to be getting worse and not better, even though we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on reducing homelessness. Because what we're doing is we're creating a vicious cycle. And the reason I say it's a vicious cycle is because when someone becomes homeless, it's very likely that they're going to become an addict. Because what happens is they are out on the streets and they're alone, they're depressed, they're anxious. They've just been through a traumatic event. Nobody ever believes that they will become homeless. And so you take someone that's homeless, you put them on the street, or you take someone who becomes homeless. Now they're on the street. They may be staying in a shelter or one of the homeless camps that we see all over. And what happens is they're struggling and they're dealing with all of those emotions. And the person next to them says, "Hey, dude, just try this. This will make you feel better." And you're in a moment of despair, and you say, "You know what? I'll do anything. I just can't stand feeling the way that I'm feeling." So you try it, whatever it is, whether it's a pill or smoking meth or using heroin. And for a moment, you actually feel some relief. And now that wears off. So what do? You go back and you say, "I did it once, I'll do it one more time," and then that's it. Well, that one, next time becomes 10 times, etc. And, according to the recent survey, in Spokane, 2018, January, they did a point in time. Every city across the country does this point in time survey. And in Spokane, the number one cause was family conflict. So they surveyed 1,309 people. 48 out of that said the primary cause was family conflict. Next was lack of income, then followed by job and affordable housing. They were a close second and third. Followed closely by drug use and eviction. Those both came in at 25. But when you look at the other reasons, the water gets a little muddy, because it indicates that 94 of them said the other reason was a lack of income. 73 said affordable housing. 70 of those surveyed said mental illness. And then 58 of those said drug use. So what is it? What was the real cause of their homelessness? So you have to dig into these numbers to really understand the why behind their homelessness. And unfortunately, at a point in time, you don't have time to dig into, is this really the cause of their homelessness? You ask a serious question, move on. And if you find someone under a bridge or on a park bench, are they going to trust you enough to give you an honest answer of why they are homeless? And so, the point of bringing up these numbers is they're really they're all over the map. And we really have no idea what the true cause is. And until we identify that, how can we create a system that provides solutions to move people up and out of homelessness, addiction, and mental illness? We can't. Imagine if you're running a business and you base your business on these numbers that are all over the map. You would have no idea where to start, what to do, or how to make your business successful. So, why is it that we think our government can make sense of these numbers and actually put together solutions to get people off the street? But digging into those numbers and looking at the why is very difficult, and that's going to take time. And the problem is we don't have time. So we need to meet with these people individually. That costs a lot of money to be able to meet with them. On top of these numbers, there's a lot of people that become homeless because truly they were living paycheck to paycheck. That last paycheck they didn't get. The rent's due, they're already behind. Their car payment, they're behind on their car payment, whatever the situation is, and now they find out they've been evicted. They have no job and they have no house. What do? They go to a shelter. They're sitting next to someone that is using drugs and or alcohol, and they say, I need that relief. And like I talked about earlier, once they try it, feel a little better, then they try it again, and now they're addicted. And so what do you do with that? Because you try it once and your troubles melt away and it makes you feel good, so you want to do it again. So now you're homeless, and now you're abusing drugs or alcohol. Now you've been on the streets for a while, you're an addict, you're homeless, and now you're suffering abuse. I mean, face it, people on the street get abused. If you're a female, you could be sexually abused. If you're a guy, you could get beat up all the time by gangs of homeless people that are taking your stuff. There's a lot of stuff that can happen out there. Not to mention, every time you sit down, somebody's telling you move on. You don't feel safe, and pretty soon you don't respect anybody around you because they don't respect you, because respect earns respect. So it's that vicious cycle. So how do you get someone to dig their way out of this hole? Well, it's very difficult, especially when you have someone now using intravenous drugs, and they're addicted, because now if they're using heroin, every time they don't use, they get dope sick, and the only way to get money is panhandle or steal whatever they can find, sell whatever they can find at the recycle center. So you can see how this vicious cycle can continue. Now we talk about the needle exchange programs. Now they say that the needle exchanges are to reduce harm, because now we're giving people clean needles, and we're reducing the spread of HIV because we're giving out free needles. And you've heard me talk about this before. I haven't seen a good study that really bears that out. But one thing I do know for sure is people who are going to go into needle exchange places, they're going not to get a clean needle, they're going to get a sharp needle, because if they've been using drugs for a while, their veins have all collapsed, and they're having trouble getting the needle into a vein. And the last thing you want to do is inject heroin not in a vein. That creates other issues. So if you think they're going to get a clean needle, they're not. They're going to get a sharp needle. Then they take that sharp needle and they go back to their camp or their shelter, and everybody sees, oh, dude, you got a new needle. Let me use it. So that needle gets spread around, and now it's dull, so somebody has to go back and get a sharp needle. So we put people in a shelter. They share needles, low barrier shelters, because we have no rules. We can't kick them out for... there's no reason you can kick them out. I mean, unless you arrest them and haul them off to jail because they've hurt someone. That's probably about the only reason. So then somebody overdoses on heroin or opiates or opioids, and you take them to the hospital, you give them Narcan. Narcan stops that high instantly, and it restores those receptors. But what happens is you are immediately in a drug withdrawal, and now they're dope sick. Usually when they wake up from Narcan, they wake up violently and angry and upset because they don't know what just happened. All of a sudden they're waking up and there's all these people standing around them. And so what do you do with them now? Now they're dope sick, and the one thing that they want to do, go get more drugs because they don't want to be dope sick. I just read an article. There was a girl who they used Narcan on her 12 times. There was a guy that had 19 times. And they all said within 2 hours of getting a Narcan, they were out using again because they were sick. So when we give them Narcan, why do we release them? Why do we kick them out of the hospital and send them on home? Well, we can't hold them. And they're angry and they're violent and they're upset because you just messed up their high. You're a big buzzkill. So now they're angry. They go home and they use. And I've seen people do this. I've seen people that use within a couple of hours of getting Narcan. So we have a vicious cycle of homelessness causing addiction, addiction causing mental illness. Then we provide them with free needles, sharp needles, not clean needles, because that's really what they want. They also say at the safe injection site, it's a great place for them to hear about treatment. When you're high or wanting to get high, the last thing you're going to hear is anything about treatment. So the ideal thing is to put something in their hand that you can stay in contact with them after they leave, and at least you have a chance of when they're feeling a little better, when they're either not so high they can't comprehend what you're saying, or they're not dope sick, then maybe you can get through to them. But once they're out of that facility, you've lost that opportunity. So you can see that this picture, we create this vicious cycle, and it makes us all feel good. But what is happening is what we're doing is actually cruel and selfish. If you ask an addict about whether they want to be in their addiction, they say it is a living hell. Staying in their addiction is literally a living hell, and they would do anything to get out of it, but they have these receptors in their brain that is screaming, give me more drugs, give me more drugs, don't let that level drop, don't let it drop. And they're always chasing that first high, which they'll never get. And they keep up and they're using more and more and more. That's why people are chasing fentanyl. They have an app that people see where all of the overdoses are in a city. People will chase that overdose map to get the best drugs because they think, oh, somebody overdosed, there must be really good drugs over there. So all of this is costing the taxpayer hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's putting more people at risk, not fewer people. Now, this is my opinion. I can't back this up with scientific data, but there's no scientific data that I have found that contradicts what my opinion is. So we need to change the system. And I tell you, you either need to lead, follow, or get out of the way, because we have to change the system. And if we don't, we're going to continue to spend more money, continue to sentence people to a life of drugs, crime, and misery. And is that what you want? I don't think so. Have a good day.